Good morning, friends. This is a humble attempt to understand the dispute between the Jacobite and Orthodox churches in Kerala. St. Mary's Church in Piravam and many other Syrian churches in Kerala were forcefully taken over by the government of Kerala from Jacobite Syrian believers and their bishops to be handed over to Syrian Orthodox Church authorities. This has been to comply with the Supreme Court verdict dated 3rd July 2017, settling a more than 1 century old dispute between the two communities regarding the ownership and possession of the churches, burial grounds, properties, and parishes numbering more than 1,100. St. Thomas came to India in AD 52 and preached the good news of Jesus on the Malabar coast. The community which emerged is known as St. Thomas Christians. A small group of Jewish Christians from Chaldea migrated to Malabar coast in the 4th century. From that time onwards, the spiritual heads of St. Thomas Christians were from Chaldea, Baghdad. The St. Thomas Christians were using an ancient Syriac dialect, East Syriac, believed to be the dialect used by Jesus himself as their language of worship. They were in communion with Rome to the Catholic East Syrian Patriarchate of Chaldea, Seleucia Ctesiphon. Mar Abraham, Archbishop of Angamali, who died in 1597, was the last bishop sent to Malabar from Baghdad. Don Alexis Meneses, Archbishop of Goa, using Padrivada rights granted to him by Rome, took control of St. Thomas Christians of Kerala and convened the Synod of Udayampelur in January 1599 and started a process of systematic Latinization. The Latinization process reached its climax in the Covenant Cross Oath of Mattancheri, where the St. Thomas Christians reacted to it. It was in January 1653. The St. Thomas Christians vowed not to remain under the Latin bishop. Rome acted rather swiftly. St. Thomas Christians were brought under propaganda congregation, and Carmelite missionaries replaced the Jesuit missionaries, and the Vicariate of Malabar was erected for the St. Thomas Christians. Majority of St. Thomas Christians were brought back to the Catholic fold. The community could not accept being deprived of Syriac language and traditions in their worship. Chaldean Patriarch was not ready to send any bishop to Malabar against the will of Rome. Antiochian Patriarch of West Syriac tradition was approached by some of the St. Thomas Christians. They were affiliated to the Antiochian Patriarchate in 1665. The new group of St. Thomas Christians affiliated to the Antiochian Patriarchate was known as Puttan Kootukar, and the old group which remained in communion with Rome was known as Pazhaya Kootukar. In 1453, the Ottoman forces defeated the Byzantine army and captured Constantinople, converted Hagia Sophia, the cathedral, to a mosque, and made Istanbul, the former Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Empire. The sultans of Turkey and their ministers had an unholy influence over the affairs of the church and the patriarchate, and bribery and political influence played a role in the election and appointment of patriarchs. His Holiness Ignatius Abd Masiho II was elected Patriarch of Antioch in 1895. In Ottoman Empire, the Christians were attacked by Muslim mobs, and in riots, around 2/3 of the Christians were killed in the empire. The Patriarch was deposed of his position in 1903. He lived in a monastery at Diyarbakir and died in 1915. Another Patriarch of Antioch, His Holiness Ignatius Abded Oloho II Satuf, was elected and installed in 1906, who continued as Patriarch till 1915. During this period, Patriarch Masiho II also claimed the See of Antioch. St. Thomas Christians who remained in communion with Rome after the Conan Cross Oath are known as Syro Malabar Church, whose strength is 5.1 million. Strength of the Orthodox faction is 2.5 million, and that of the Jacobite group is 1.2 million. In 1930, a group of Malankara St. Thomas Christians got reunited with the Catholic Church. They are known as Malankara Catholic Church, whose strength is around 0.5 million. A group of St. Thomas Christians influenced by Protestant teachings formed an independent church in 1889 known as Marthoma Church. Between 1906 and 1915, there were two patriarchs in Antioch. This is the reason for the split in the church, and that is why the Malankara church also was split. One group owing allegiance to one patriarch, the other group owing allegiance to the other patriarch. Patriarch Masiho II and Oloho II were there. Litigations between Jacobite and Orthodox groups. In 1912, the Malankara church was divided into Jacobite and Orthodox groups. A case was registered in Trivandrum District Court in 1913 as to which of the two factions the interest of the money deposited in British Treasury should accrue. The case is known as Vattipanam case. The verdict was in favor of the Orthodox group. In 1934, the Orthodox group convened a meeting of all the members of the Malankara Church. A constitution was adopted by which all the parishes and churches of the Malankara group is administered. For a short period between 1959 and 1972, the two groups remained united and again separated. The Malankara Jacobite group does not have any constitution made in a meeting like that of the Orthodox group. The courts accepted the 1934 document as valid. Hence, verdicts 1958, 1995, and 2017 were in favor of the Orthodox group. The human side of the problem is 1.2 million faithful of the Jacobite community does not have any place of worship. They have no access to the tombs of their ancestors. They do not have any more common institutions which their forefathers built for their posterity. All because they believed that the Patriarch of Antioch was the spiritual head and the autocephalous church created by a deposed patriarch who still claimed to be the rightful successor of the see was not acceptable. So they suffer for the sake of their faith. His Eminence Cardinal Clemis offered all churches under him for the Jacobites for their worship services. All people of goodwill, all the churches in Kerala should come forward to mitigate the sufferings of our suffering Jacobite brethren. Thank you for listening.